Chair Garcia,
Here.
Vice Chair Mendoza, Commissioner Gallardo,
Here.
Commissioner Urquidez,
Here.
Commissioner Zavala.
Here.
Thank you. Is there a motion to excuse Vice Chair Mendoza?
I make a motion to excuse Vice Chair Mendoza.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We can now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Zavala?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We are at public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. Are there any public comments from the audience? Any emails, hands raised?
No, I'm seeing.
Okay, we'll close public comments and move on to the consent agenda. There's one item, which is the adoption of the May 5th, 2026 Planning Commission minutes. Entertain a motion when you're ready.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the Planning Commission meeting on May 5th, 2026.
You have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We can move on to public hearings. We have two public hearings this evening. Our first public hearing is the consideration of a resolution for a design review approval for a new two-story, 7,147 square foot commercial building with 21 parking spaces on a 22,400 square foot parcel at 447 El Camino Real, assessors parcel number 024-022-004. May we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Brent Slama here, contract planner for the city. And first item we're looking at is 447 El Camino Real design review approval. Across the street from the inn, adjacent to another existing building that holds a number of automotive uses and other general offices uses on El Camino Real. The particulars, it's a two-story structure, 7,147 square feet. It's a vacant 22,400 square foot lot. 7 tenant spaces are planned, 2 on the bottom floor, 5 on the top. The bottom spaces are 1,512. The second floor offices, 533 square feet. No users identified at present. Talk a little bit more about setbacks. In this zone, there are 0-foot setbacks all around. 21 spaces for parking on the side of the property. Signage would be deferred for the future. A uniform sign program would be required once businesses are established. Since our last meeting, the HCD approved the building moratorium back in June. So any approvals that come from planning at this point are automatically tolled, meaning that the clock for approvals doesn't start until they're able to actually receive a permit. So during this time, people may move forward for planning approvals, get planning approvals, and then the time clock does not start until the building moratorium is lifted and they're able to get a permit. So we don't have a date of when that clock will start, but it's typically design review approvals for 3 years. It'd be 3 years after the date that the moratorium is lifted. This is what the building elevations look like. I said I'll defer to the architect for more explanation and the questions that you may have. We do have representatives here today for the project. If you look at the site plan here, it is a long and narrow parcel. So the building while we encourage buildings to be oriented along El Camino Real, it just the way that this lot is situated makes it difficult to do that. For a long time, we went back and forth about the property. The property goes back to 9th Street, but it's very narrow back there, and there was long consideration about whether or not there would be a connection to 9th Street. So you see here, there's a turnaround in the back of the property. There's 24 parking spaces and the building up on the side of the property. Landscaping and you see here, so the building's oriented on which would be the north of the property. Here, parking on the side. There's a there's a stairwell up on the top. There's two units on the bottom, 5 units on the top. And as I mentioned, architect applicant are here to answer questions about the building. From our perspective, we looked at parking, we looked at landscaping, we looked at all the other requirements. No significant obvious questions been reviewed by all departments for access, for other things. You have a whole list of conditions of approval that are set up. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about the project. Also, as I mentioned, you have our architect and applicant here to discuss the project and any questions that you may have for them. Staff's recommending approval of the project.
Thank you for that staff report. Are there any questions for staff before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I think you already answered it, but just for my clarification, even if this was approved, it really wouldn't go into, I mean, they wouldn't get a permit, correct?
That is correct.
Until the moratorium is over.
That's right.
And that's not, we're not going to see that in the foreseeable future, are we?
It's hard to say exactly when that's going to be, but
Well,
yes,
I
it's going to
was-
be a few years.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was under the impression that no one would issue permits or get permits until the issue with the wastewater was resolved. Am I
That-
correct on that?
Building permits, yes. You can get a planning permit, but you can't build anything until that
Right,
is done.
exactly. So that project over there, I mean, that's going to take a long time to get. I mean, that's not going to be done 6 months, 7 months, whatever.
No,
I mean, that expansion over there, they were talking at one time, if I remember correctly, that was going to take up to a couple of years to get it resolved.
that is correct.
So again, being redundant here, even if we approve it, they're not going to get a building permit.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is the old buyer's place down here.
No, it's a new building.
It's a new building.
This, just go back to the map. This is the elementary school. This
Oh,
is the
okay.
inn over here.
Yeah.
This is the Me Memorial Medical Clinic right here. This is where there's the auto parts and the auto stores here. This is where the donut shop. Anyway, it's this lot right here, this vacant lot. I don't know if my cursor is moving with you, but this lot right here. It backs up to 9th Street at the end of 9th Street. Yeah, vacant lot.
Yeah, it's-
So Bob, it would be next to that long tin building up there where they have a tire shop and all that
Right,
stuff. It
yeah.
would be on the south side of that.
Right.
Exactly.
Any more questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll open up the public hearing. The applicants here.
Good evening, council, or chair, I'm Ed Reinhardt. I'm the architect for this project. And I'd like to thank staff for bringing this to the planning commission. And if you have any questions of me, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I think I've read all the conditions of approval. They're all acceptable. I'll actually go over one with staff. I believe it's just a typo, and it was, if I would just, on the condition of approval on page 25, item 41, it talks about the sidewalk park strip. And it's like, there's a full width sidewalk in that area, so there's no landscaping in that sidewalk area. It's just a full width sidewalk. So you could probably just change that around. So, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions for the architect? I have one. Okay, so you indicate that there are 7 tenant spaces for this project. I just want to clarify that they're all going to be commercial tenants,
Yes, they're all commercial tenants.
because I was
Office suites upstairs.
looking at the toilet rooms on the
Mhm.
2nd floor, and there's showers in there.
There is.
You're having showers in your office?
There's a lot of people that want to shower in their private office, so that's what we're doing.
So this won't be converted to residential?
No, there's not a cooking area in there.
Okay.
so.
Is it every space with a shower, or is it
Every
just?
space has a shower.
Is staff okay with that change on condition of approval 41 regarding the landscaping?
Yes.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, well, there is a motion on page. I just want to say, you know, I went through it all and it looks like everything is pretty much in conformance with zoning codes and everything. And the conditions of approval are well written. Okay, so the motion is on page 13 of your packet, page 6 of the staff report. Anyone so inclined?
I move that the planning commission of the city of Greenfield adopt resolution number 2026-04, granting design review approval of a new 7,147 square foot commercial building at 447 El Camino Real, subject to conditions of approval included in the resolution.
Do we need to mention the language change on 41 in the motion?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to just say as amended per the record,
Okay, as amended per the record. I mean,
because that'll cover the action being taken, the motion, and that it references specifically that you guys addressed that specific condition of approval being changed.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Our next public hearing is consideration of a resolution for design review approval for a new 3,151 square foot duplex with a 903 square foot ADU on property located at 619 Maple Avenue, assessors parcel number 024092000 and APN 221001168. Staff report.
All right. 619 Maple Avenue. It's a vacant lot. It's zoned medium density residential. There's an alley alongside it between 6th and 7th Street. You gave the numbers to a 2-story duplex, single-story ADU. It's a 6,800 square foot vacant lot. Setbacks are 20 feet in the front, 5 foot setbacks on the side. And then there's a 2-story, or for the 2-story structure, 39 feet to the rear property. Show the site plan here in a second. Each unit has 2 parking spaces for the duplex. They're proposing 1 covered and 1 uncovered. ADU proposing 2 uncovered off of the alley. There's 2,500 square feet of proposed landscaping. And once again, this project is subject to the building moratorium. No building permit will be issued until the sewer plant issues are resolved. expiration dates would be told just the same. This is the site plan. So on the left side of your screen is Maple Avenue. The alley is immediately on the north, or is immediately adjacent to this property. Interesting to note, so typically under state law, we don't regulate ADUs. They go through ministerially. But here for reference purposes, I think as we look at this parcel, this vacant parcel, particularly as it applies to the parking. So because the ADU is located with next to El Camino Real on the bus stop, that's along El Camino Real, technically are not required to provide any parking. They're putting 2 outdoor spaces there, or outdoor, I mean uncovered spaces over there. The front, I'll show you'll notice here you have a single car garage to each of these townhomes, or to each of these duplex units with a single car here. For 3 units, you need 2 parking spaces per unit, so they have 6. Of course, now with all the rules and what you can do with converting garages and everything, sometimes it feels like we really don't have control of how many parking spaces there are on a property. We did want to touch base on that. In terms of the architecture you see here, it says that you have the duplex, the 2 stories. The floor plans you have here, if you've taken a look at those, they are 3-bedroom units. This is the ADU unit, or no, this is the ADU unit in the rear. I'm happy to go over any questions specific to those. So, zone medium density residential, 3 units allowed. Any questions over architecture, anything, happy to help answer them. I don't know if architect or, yeah, I think architect's available on Zoom, it looks like. We'll see if he wants to comment or anything. But other than that, I'm happy here to answer any questions about this
How
lot.
big is the ADU?
903 square feet.
Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, I'm trying to find, how far back is the ADU from the main building?
10 feet apart.
I'm
If you
sorry?
go to the bottom of the site plan, the
Okay,
structures are 10 feet apart, which is the requirement.
is that minimum?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, there's, what is that? 11th Street. Right off of, a little ways off of Oak. They're putting in an ADU back there. And some things just don't add up to me. I mean, but that's a completely different scenario. Because their front window of that ADU is just a few feet back from a garage that's back there. So the only thing they're looking at is the back of a garage. So that's what I kind of want to make out here. That they're just not going to be looking at the back of that building.
Yeah, so the ADU requirements are a lot less stringent than the city's zoning requirements. So that's what allows you to put 5-foot rear setback, for example, in this case. We have to require anything that's within a 4-foot setback. We do have a 10-foot distance between structure requirement. But the direction from the state has been find a way to get it done. Find a way to get it on the property, and not a lot of discretion to that. These are the standards. If you meet the standards, you need to allow this. Whether it looks pretty is really of no, I hate to say that, it's not of concern to the state of California.
Okay.
Or what your view looks like.
Yeah. I figured maybe they could paint a big mural on the side of that garage and look at that.
Maybe
Okay.
suggest that to the architect.
Any other questions for staff? I have a quick one on your staff report on page 433 of the packet under lighting. I can't tell if that's a concern or something we should look at. The design review requirement should consider outdoor lighting to determine if the proposed project should be approved. The proposed is standard Hampton Bay LED outdoor residential. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, there's
lighting?
no significant issues. It's
Okay.
more just, this is what they're providing, and this is how
Okay.
it meets with their
All right.
requirements, but no.
Okay, if there's no other questions for staff, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
I got a
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry. Oh,
Okay, like, he was saying that, there was an ADU going up building right now, or
Yes. Over on 11th, between 11th and Palm.
are they under, a mandatory on that, or they can build it on their own property?
Let me know what the question as far as, are they allowed to get a permit for that?
Yeah,
It would depend on the time they pulled the permit. So you notice there's a number of properties under construction right now. So if they pulled their permits prior to that June 19th date, they can continue and finish their construction. And you'd have to give me the address, but we can verify that for sure, that more than likely they were issued a permit before that date.
Yeah, because previously we had been told that no permits would be issued after like mid-September of last year.
Yeah.
But then that was proven that that wasn't true because they were still kept issuing after that.
Correct. So when the city council approved the moratorium that went into effect back in September, it was always contingent upon
The state
state
approving it.
state approval. State approval didn't happen until June of this year. But now it's happened. Everyone that comes to us is aware of those timelines. They're aware of the requirements, that they can be issued a planning permit, but they will not be issued building permits at this point until the moratorium is ended.
So from what I understand, permits were still being issued up till June of this year. Is that correct?
Yes, and we are still issuing permits now for things that do not require or do not affect the sewer. So water heaters, roofing, re-roofs,
Right.
Things like that. We'll still issue those permits. But if it impacts the sewer system, since June 19th, we haven't issued new permits. But we are continuing to complete all the permits that were pulled before that time. So there are still a number of projects under construction right now.
okay.
If you give us an address, we'll be happy to check on it for
I
you.
just worry about parking. With parking status going around here in Greenfield, you can't find a parking place. Now you got you're gonna have 6 parking spots. And then you're gonna have outside parking too?
You mean street parking?
Yeah,
You'll be able to put, with the curb cut there, you're gonna be able to put maybe 2 cars, and then they might be being used now as we speak. Once again, I come back to parking. Parking has been taken very much out of our hands these days with the ADU rules. We can argue about it all we want. I'm just not sure how we address them with the codes that we have, because especially with the garage conversion allowances and things like that. I wish I had a better solution for you. Right now, it's all I can say is contact the governor.
Does that conclude questions for staff?
I just had one note for the record in regards to the resolution. I would just recommend on any motion taken that, I think there was just a clerical error in the resolution itself. In the staff report, it references section 15303 of the CEQA guidelines for a small structure, new construction, CEQA exemption. And in the resolution, it references 15332, which is infill. I just recommend, because that's just a clerical thing, I'd recommend that any motion to approve the resolution reference section 15303 of the CEQA guidelines. Approve the resolution with reference in the resolution to 15303 of the CEQA guidelines, just to be consistent with the staff report. The staff report makes the CEQA exemption the new construction pursuant to 15303.
Thank you.
So would it be 15303 in place of 15332?
Correct.
Right, thank you for that clarification. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Are there any public comments? I see a few people online participating. Now's the time to comment if you'd like. Are any of these the applicant or architect? Okay, we have a hand raised under LV. Are you-
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Luis Vargas within Studio Architecture, with our architecture firm for our client. And I just wanted to say hello and thank you very much for bringing this to the Planning Commission. It's been in the work for many years, and unfortunately, we are caught in the moratorium for the building permit, as I understand it. But our client wanted to move forward with the planning approval. And if it is possible, eventually the building review, knowing that there is not going to be a permit issued until the moratorium is lifted. But we appreciate your review and consideration of this project.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you guys have any questions for the architect? Okay, hearing none. Any other public comments? Going once, going twice. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and open planning commission discussion and decision. Commissioner Zavala?
No, I don't have anything. I'm just trying to picture this on Maple and kind of. I mean, is it in the corner? Oh, yeah, it is. I didn't have a chance to drive by there, but I looked it up and I don't think I got a good image of it online. Isn't there a park nearby? I just.
There's, if you go down the end of the street before you get to the freeway, there's like
Okay,
a
got
pocket
it.
park with a
That's what that-
basketball court.
Okay, now I know where it's at. Okay.
It's up here. House goes in between.
Hmm. I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Kiedis,
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Gallardo?
Yeah, I have a question here. I always do. So let's go on the premise that it's approved, okay? And like we've already stated, a permit cannot be issued. So how long can it actually sit like in limbo before they have to go through the whole process again? Is there a time frame for that?
3 years plus the time that it takes for the plant to get finished. So if they don't pull a permit, so let's just say, just theoretically, the plant's completed and the moratorium's lifted on July 1st, 2028, which is, almost 2 years from now, they would be good till 2031 to go pull the, between that period, between 2028 and July 1st, 2031, to pull a building permit. If they didn't do it by then, they'd have to come back.
Thank you.
Vice Chair?
No.
I'm good as well. So if there is a motion on page 5 of the staff report, 35 of the packet, and please don't forget to include the correcting verbiage for the resolution. Anyone?
I move that the Planning Commission of the City of Greenfield adopt resolution number 2026-05, granting design review approval of a new 3,151 square foot duplex with a with a 903 square foot ADU on property located at 619 Maple Avenue, subject to conditions of approval included in the resolution, referencing resolution section 15303. Is that what it is?
Correct.
Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
4 ayes and an opposed?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And that concludes our public hearings. We can move on to other business. We have one item, a request for the deletion of condition of approval number 27 regarding the creation of a homeowners association for the St. Charles Townhome Project located at 733 to 743 Elm Avenue, APN 024-392-001 through 006.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. So this project here is under construction, did receive their permits prior to the moratorium, and is getting closer to completion and putting out for sale. This parcel has been planned since the original St. Charles Place project that was developed by Creek Bridge back in the mid-2000s, when they built the apartments, the commercial space, the subdivision, the houses around them, the Village Green Park, all that area. This was part of that plan. There was a plan to have a number of 6 townhomes with live-work units at the time. Later in the history of the live-work unit requirements were deleted. And so we have the 6 units that have been proposed. The Planning Commission, and as I said there, I probably should have taken a picture today on where they are in their update, but if you go over there, they're being built. They're going to look really nice, matching the rest of the subdivision, but in this case, you have attached townhomes. The Planning Commission at its last approval, when it approved this, had one condition that required the creation of a homeowners association. I've talked to other staff members and trying to get an understanding of the purpose of the homeowners association. Greenfield typically doesn't usually require those, and for the most part, we don't have private developments. We do all our maintenance of public areas on new developments through lighting and landscaping maintenance districts. So new subdivisions are well aware of those because they're included on your property tax bill, and they fund lighting, landscaping, street maintenance. So there's a condition, number 27, that requires the creation of a homeowners association for these 6 units. Homeowners associations typically are much larger, have many more units, and generally cover the maintenance of private areas. So private streets, gates, for example, gate maintenance, swimming pools, or other common area amenities that are provided. When we looked at this, when you look at the areas in question, the frontage landscaping is usually covered by a landscaping district, which this project is subject to in condition 26. So they are in the landscaping district. Fences are typically governed by the property owner themselves or the common area fences. There are no gates in the sense of any gates over there. There are no private streets. And one of the other issue was allowance for access to adjacent properties for maintenance of the exterior of the building. So as, for example, when you have just like in the commercial buildings where you have 0 1-foot setbacks, the ability to you have to use someone else's property to help fix something that you may have. When they looked at the fees just to establish an HOA, it was over $200 per unit per month, which is a pretty substantial hit to your property tax bill. So the applicant has requested us to look at this, see if there was any specific reasons that this was put in. As I mentioned, the surrounding development never had a homeowners association. None of our most recent developments have had a homeowners association. None of them have private streets. And there are no private streets in this setup either. Elm is public and the road that goes around it is public. So under our zoning code, if the planning commission creates conditions, the planning commission is the one that has to amend or delete conditions. It's not something that we do administratively unless we approve a project administratively. If the city council approves the project, then the city council has to adjust the conditions. So that's why it's here in front of you today. So that's what we're looking at, is this particular condition. The applicant has requested that we delete it. We've reviewed this with the city engineer, the creation of the LLMD, talked to the city manager. We're supportive of doing that. But if there are questions or concerns about why this was created, we're more than happy to address them, or any other questions that you might have.
That concludes your stuff.
That includes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open public comment. Are there any public comments? We have a hand raised, Amanda Lane. One moment. If you could unmute. There you go.
Hi, good afternoon. So I represent the developer on this project. And I just wanted to, well, first of all, thank you for considering this item to be removed. Just wanted to give you a little bit more of the background on this. We've spent a lot of time on this item, and we were trying to find ways of how to meet this condition. And we went to different management companies to try to get fees. And I can tell you the top two numbers that is driving these fees so high is just the management, not even the work, the management and the insurance on it. And as it was stated, nothing is owned by the association. So it's technically would be considered a non-CID, which is a non-common development, a common interest development. And therefore, it's the reason for we felt really strongly as to if it can be removed, it sure would make it easier. But kind of like the gentleman had stated, is that typically when you're dealing with HOAs, you're dealing with, 50 units, where you can share that cost more evenly, whether it's for landscaping, whether it's for gate maintenance, pools, clubhouse, things like that. Not exactly sure why when this condition was set. Unfortunately, it didn't come to me. I'm the broker for the company. So when I was reviewing all the documents as we were getting closer, this was something that popped up. And, I didn't realize that this condition was on there. So it's when I kind of gotten involved. Otherwise, I would have gotten involved much sooner. So I really hope that this is something you would consider. And again, there's zero ownership by the association. Everything is private.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Are there any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll close public comment and move to Planning Commission discussion and decision. Start on your end, Mr. Commissioner Peters.
I have one question, and I don't know how to say it, is that, so if we go ahead and say, drop the HOA, what makes them think that families can move in with every apartment and stuff like that?
So this is a for sale development, so they would purchase the unit. And then, and of course they won't do that until the buildings have been cleared for occupancy and the projects have been final, which hasn't happened yet. But as soon as the project's final, they are in, as I mentioned before, they are in the landscaping and lighting maintenance district, which is the typical standard we use for new developments. The property owner contributes on their property tax bill, the bill for the landscape strip in front of the property, the lights and the roads next to it. So it doesn't, if we delete the condition, it just means that they don't have to put together the homeowners association prior to getting a final. Right now, they can't get a final without this condition in place, as the the broker mentioned, they've been reaching out to companies, looking at that. And I would say from my perspective, and I wasn't here when this was approved, as she said, generally HOAs, operate in much larger numbers to help offset the maintenance cost of the HOA. Having 6, it puts a lot of, as she said, administrative burden. There's a lot of cost for management of that. But I hope to answer your question that it just means that that's not a consideration prior to them receiving their final inspection.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gallardo.
Well, from my perspective, I think people are struggling just to make mortgage payments, make their rent. This would just be an added burden. And I know from what you've said that the decision hasn't actually been made, and they actually won't be, the people who purchase the properties are actually be told towards the end whether they have an HOA or not. So, I mean, going forward, I think they need to realize as soon as possible that yes, you have one, or yes, you don't have one. So I think it would behoove us to make a decision as quick as possible.
Commissioner Zavala.
I just have a comment. I mean, I agree. I think I'm comfortable with removing the HOA. But I do think that it would be nice to have so residents can have some standards and rules, and just I'm looking at it like appearance, for the building. But that's just my opinion. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
My microphone on? Yeah, can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'm actually a big fan of HOA, especially with this particular development here. I'm trying to scan through my brain of anything in town that has any homes that are attached, and I don't believe there's any in town that have that. So you have 2, 4, 6 units that are attached. Without an HOA, now I can go and buy a property and paint my house pink, and my neighbor's got to put up with it. Does that look good? Does that not look good aesthetically? It's probably a problem. It's probably a problem. I think HOA, again, the standards. I know there's HOA down in King City, and if you go through those neighborhoods, they are in tip-top shape because they're required. As far as the management goes, not that I'm an expert, but I think if you can get 6 people, one of those people can manage it as a homeowner, manage the HOA, not that big of a deal, especially if you don't have any maintenance or anything that is really to a point where you need, a management company to manage the property. So my opinion is, HOA is good. I think it's the right move, but that would be my 2 cents in this.
Thank you for that. For me, I think that this development is a little too small for an HOA. There's 6 units. All of these homeowners would potentially be the HOA. What's to stop them from saying our fee is $10 a month? I mean, do they get to set their own fees, or what is that? Where does that $200 come from?
That may be a question to defer for the broker, but generally speaking, every HOA that exists, they have fees, and the board or whatever can, adjust things accordingly based on how much you need. But you do need setup. You do have management. You do have, the requirement for reserves. It's really hard to do with only 6 units because of the legal requirements under the state of California to have a truly functioning homeowners association. Not to mention you need people to volunteer to be a part of that homeowners association. And what I've noticed, some HOAs are successful. Some HOAs in my previous city have fallen apart completely because they lack the infrastructure or the people inside the development willing to take on those jobs which aren't paid. And you hear stories of people who do have really good HOAs and strong HOAs that keep everyone accountable, and then you have some instances where you've had some HOAs that have all the money's disappeared, for lack of a better term. We had a case of that in Soledad. So it's only as good as the people who, I think to your point, Vice Chair, it's only as good as the people who run it. And so, it's a question of, I think, just for us as policy, if we had a development with private roads, for example, Barolo Circle. Barolo Circle is subject to that. They have a private park in there. And that street on Barolo Circle is private. And those are not necessarily attached units. They're very close together, though, in terms of your example that you mentioned. But I don't know if that's something that the applicant wanted to address or clarify further, if you wanted more clarification. But for example, if anyone in Greenfield ended up proposing a gated development, absolutely, if you did a gated development, you would have to have private roads. We wouldn't make those roads public, and by extension, you would have a homeowners association in order to maintain those. And then it becomes the development's responsibility to make sure those things are maintained. It hasn't been typically the practice to require HOAs in Greenfield, but certainly, if someone wanted to develop a project like that, and if it had private amenities, then we'd have to consider that. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that, again, there's no fences, there's fences, but there's no gate allowing access. And the HOA was for maintenance of the exterior of the buildings. And again, condition 26, including it in the LLMD, I mean, that's not free.
No.
The homeowners will have to pay that tax as well. So I think this is kind of double taxing, in my opinion. But I do see Ms. Lane has her hand up if she'd like to, if you guys are okay with her addressing us again. Go ahead, Ms. Lane.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to kind of clarify some of the comments that I was hearing, just to kind of give you a little bit more again. I know you mentioned as to like, why couldn't the homeowners maybe at $10 a month that they could do it? Part of it would require that they have to have a bank account. You have to establish a bank account. They have to do record keeping. And so this is where a management company has to come in. And I don't see the homeowners themselves taking on the burden to make sure that they keep adequate records, do the filings that they have to do, keep track of bank account, good records of that. So a lot of that fee, if I recall correctly off the top of my head, just the management alone was, I believe, between $300 to $500 a month. And then the insurance was the next largest numbers. And the insurance is, in a sense, you need insurance for the board members, which are the homeowners. The other thing that I foresee is that, you could find yourself that, let's say that the homeowners buy into it and they know that there's an HOA. At the end of the day, when the developer at the beginning, they will serve as the HOA at the beginning, but as each townhome closes escrow, they are the board members. They become that. They are the association that you have a manager that is managing it on their behalf. So that's where it becomes expensive. And then also to address the other comment about like the situation that you mentioned about like somebody can paint their house in pink and then you have to live with it. We do not intend to get rid of the CCNRs. The CCNRs, we plan to keep them. So if this gets passed tonight to eliminate the item, our intention is to still keep the CCNRs in place. Because we do agree that keeping the integrity of the homes and nobody ever wants to live next door to that one house that's not being upkeep or whatnot. So our intention would be to keep and record the CCNRs.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. We really appreciate it.
And if I may add to that point, Chair, about CCNRs. So CCNRs are required of each new subdivision in the city. The only thing with CCNRs is that city staff does not regulate CCNR. CCNRs are privately, they're recorded on your property, and they have to be, you have to go privately to enforce those CCNRs. The city doesn't enforce CCNRs unless it's specific to a code in the municipal code that it violates. So, but yes, every new subdivision has CCNRs, which generally prohibit things like you talked about.
And I do think we have attached homes. I think there's a Chispa development. I can't think of the street.
Vineyard Green?
Huh? Yeah, not the apartments, but the surrounding development. They seem like they are.
They're close.
Yeah.
No, the ones I was thinking was Tyler Avenue, but they are also, I mean, there's, I don't know what it is, what the setback is, 5 feet or something like that between.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably but these are attached. They're
Attached,
all
attached.
6
They're like
are one, yeah.
second row housing.
When did this get approved? I can't remember. And why was it on there?
I can tell you, let me bring it up here pretty quickly.
I'm just trying to, like, why was it on one of the conditions?
2022.
2022.
July 5th, 2022. I was not working on this project. Rob Mullane prepared the staff report. That's what I had, and I think you have a copy of the staff report in the
Yeah.
materials if you want to look further into that. We looked around as far as what exactly was the purpose of this specific requirement. We wondered if it had to do with the fact that originally these were intended to be live-work units, which creates more issues as far as the, what kind of business uses may be going on over there. That requirement was deleted.
Yeah.
While I agree that there are certainly developments that need those, and that participate in them, and they have their certain benefits. The administrative cost itself is burdensome for a 6-unit development, plus the filling of roles to make sure that it keeps going, and more so the record keeping that is required under the state to keep it active.
And the insurance and the this and the that, and seeing some TikToks on HOAs too that are kind of, yeah. So,
I have one question about that area where they're building. I've been over there and I see how it is. It's so congested now, let alone when people move in, it's gonna get worse. Because you got apartments all the way around. And you got them on where, what's Dollar Tree is, all the way around. There's apartments. And there's some businesses. So it's hard to find parking for, if they want more parking and stuff. So I don't know, to me, it's really congestion in that area.
It's certainly something that those that end up purchasing the units will have to consider before their purchase, and knowing that they are constrained in terms of parking versus the ability to walk to certain things as well. The more
Well-
dense environment, the more you can walk, but the harder it is to park.
I understand that, but what you're saying is that if they abide by the rules when they first buy the place and they move in and stuff like that, what makes them think about 2 months later that, hey, my payments are really high, I'm gonna get some more people in here and spend $3,000 on that, and there's going more parking. I know these houses are going for $3,000 a month in rent. So I don't know. I would prefer the HOA, but that's just me.
okay. Is that it, guys? I just want to say, I think the renderings are beautiful. I'm happy to see them being built. I'm thrilled that they're residential for purchase versus, renting. So I'm glad to see it moving forward. So with that, if there's nothing else, there's a motion on page 60 of your packet. planning to make the motion? Okay, I'll do it. I move that the Planning Commission of the City of Greenfield delete condition of approval number 27 regarding a homeowners association for the Stonebridge Townhomes residential development at the southeast corner of Elm Avenue and St. Charles Place. There a second?
So let's, before we vote on this, I just want to clarify something for myself, okay? Does that mean if we vote yes, that they're going to do away with HOA? Is that correct? Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
So is there a second?
Yes.
We
I
have
second it.
a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
I abstain.
So can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Gallardo,
You have to say your vote again. We're doing a roll call.
Just call me?
Yeah.
I vote for it.
Commissioner Urquidez,
No.
Commissioner Zavala,
I abstain.
Vice Chair Mendoza,
No.
Chair Garcia.
Aye. So,
So at that, you would have no action taken on the item, so it'd either be approved or denied. I think typically staff would recommend that an action be taken, whether that be to approve or deny. Otherwise, it would just go back and nothing would happen. So you could make a second motion to see if someone wants to say, or you can even do it this way, is you could say motion to deny, removing the condition of approval, just so there's a final action on the item.
so is there a motion to not delete the condition of approval 27?
Is that a no vote?
Yeah, so I guess it would be,
So I can second that.
you would second that and then you would vote.
I'm
yes-
not making
yes
that
to make-
motion.
Right, if there was a motion made, well, here, let me just break it down like this. Is anyone gonna change their vote, or are you not going to abstain, I guess? Or would you still abstain? Either way, it's just better if there's an action taken rather than nothing happens, because then I think it would probably have to end up coming back at some point, because there was no action. If there's action taken to approve, then the applicant has nothing else to deal with. If the action is denied, then they can go forward and say, oh, do I want to appeal that decision of the planning commission and to, I guess, the city council? That way, they have an option to go either way. I think it might have to come back if there's no action taken, but I had to double check on that. That's why we typically recommend that an action be taken on.
Whether it's a yes or no.
Sorry,
Whether it's a yes or no, you would need an action.
right.
I'm not changing my vote.
Neither am I. I'm standing by my vote.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's no motions pending or anything right now. No action has been taken. The item is still open, so.
On H, and I don't know who would answer this, but when you establish an HOA, that's when you establish the HOA rules, or is there a template guideline of the state says you can do this, that, or this is what they have to be?
From the city's perspective in this condition that's being written, the applicant would have to provide the documents for the creation of the HOA. There's certainly upfront fees in doing that. As far as the rules, there's typically, there's state requirements to have an HOA. And then there's, the typical, there's, what would I call it? Like boilerplate, this is what you can do. And then depending on certain things you would add, you would add certain requirements into it. As was mentioned, what typically happens is the developer runs the HOA at the beginning, and then it's intended to be taken over by residents themselves. And, for many reasons, these cities require that these HOAs be put in place. In some cases, developers want to put these into place. So from our perspective, all we're looking, we don't regulate the HOA rules. We don't regulate the requirements. We just make sure that they did the process, and it's before they, in this case, before they receive a final. As far as what happens down the road with the HOA, there really is no follow-up from the city standpoint in terms of making sure that they stay active and that they're paying their dues. We don't get involved in that. It's a private matter.
Can I ask a question of the broker before I?
Ms. Lane, we have another question for you. Are you okay with?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything, everything you mentioned was, I guess, like, for lack of a better word, right, a con. Is there any positives that you would think, or you would say as a broker, as a listing agent, that HOA would help?
For this particular matter, no. And let me just clarify, because this is not a traditional HOA. A traditional HOA would mean that it is a common interest development. That means that the association owns property, owns sidewalks, owns streets, landscaping, gates, all of that. In this particular one, it is not. It's considered a non-CID. And the hardest thing here is it doesn't change anything in terms of like the CCNRs. The only reason why under the conditions of approval, it states that the only things that were to be as part of the association was to maintain their front yards, which is a tiny little patch, no grass. It's bark and some shrubs. The back gate, that is the gate that goes from the alley to their backyard. And the side gate, kind of like the neighbor fence gate on the side of lot 1 and the side of lot 6. That's it. So this association, in a sense, would end up being made solely to take care of 3 items, which is the reason why for us, it's like, it's a waste. And I say it's a waste because we know well that if the homeowners were taking care of their own gate, their own front yard, and their own fencing, it would not cost them $200 a month. But we're going to force these people to pay a fee that we know darn well that the cost to maintain that little front yard and those gates, which those gates are not going to need to be replaced for many, many years, including the side fence, it's a burden. So I feel bad, to be honest, because it's not anything else. And unlike a true HOH, which you do have common area, that's what the association is for. And that's what takes care of that and making them look pretty. And I agree with you guys in the sense that if this truly was a true HOA and the HOA owned common area, I would be 100% all for the HOA. But this is not. This is strictly only to take care of 3 things. And we're going to end up burdening these people. We're trying to make these townhomes affordable. And adding another $200 a month doesn't help. And at the end of the day, it could end up falling apart. And my fear is like, I have a feeling they're going to go to the city and they're going to complain about it when somebody else isn't taken care of. I kind of feel this is more of an issue that potentially could end up coming back to you rather than letting them take care of it themselves, because 200 is not going towards, yes, it's going to take care of the landscaping in the front. But again, keep in mind, there's no grass. Grass is probably the heavy in terms of maintenance. It's probably the one item that I would say, yeah, it takes weekly mowing. But when you're dealing with a small little landscape area that consists of nothing but bark and some shrubs that are planted, you're watering it and it's tied into their own water meters. So that's why for me, it's like, I feel it would be more of a burden. It is not your true association, a homeowners association. It is a non-CID. I don't know if that kind of helps answer some of the concerns.
Thank you for that.
Can we go back to the picture of the house? Just so I can I don't have it in my packet.
This one?
Yeah, do we have that?
Let me see if I can put that up for you. Should have it. You looking for the elevation page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Color one.
Sure.
So the first motion, did that die or can we?
Yes. So
Okay,
at this point, the commission should make a new motion either approving, either removing the condition of approval or maintaining the condition of approval.
okay, I don't want this to be like a ballot where no means yes and yes means no.
So it would be motion to keep the condition of approval as is if you want the HOA to remain, or you would say motion to remove condition of approval number 27 to remove the HOA condition from the project.
Okay, I make a motion to remove approval number 27 from the conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have another motion and another second. May we have a roll call vote again, please?
Yes.
Commissioner Urquidez,
No,
Commissioner Zavala,
Yes.
Vice Chair Mendoza,
No.
and Chair Garcia.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that-
There you go. So
So we
motion's
did it.
passed 3-2, removing the condition of approval number 27, requiring an HOA.
Whew, that was interesting. Okay, we can go now to comments from planning commission and staff. Staff, would you like to start? Comments for us?
Sure. As you know, since the time we met last, I mean, the biggest thing is, of course, HCD approval of the moratorium. We still have a number of projects that are in process. The former Cheezer spot on Walnut Avenue is progressing along. The new storage facility, the extra space storage on El Camino is moving very quickly. The Poppy project is also moving very quickly up in that area for the fuel and the convenience store. And then there are a number of other ADUs that are under construction and the project we just discussed under construction. But for the most part, I mean, that's the list. Of course, there's work that will continue on the plan. I think city manager gave an update briefly last time, but plans are still in design, and then they're hoping to go to bid, and then, hopefully start construction. And it will be, I think it's over a two-year period until that plant is completed. We do have a few requirements with HCD that we have to comply with. There's an annual report that has to go in. There's some amendments to the housing element itself that we have to make. You will likely be seeing those next month at the Planning Commission meeting. They're all related to having to change some of our narratives about our ability to provide services, and also a priority list if by some chance we get sewer and we can only accommodate a part of we have to create a list basically of everybody that's waiting for a sewer connection. And then it has to be prioritized, affordable housing first, other housing second, and then commercial last. And then if capacity for whatever reason wasn't enough to accommodate all the requests, we would be prioritizing them. It's our understanding that that the day that the plant would go online, our capacity would increase to 2 million gallons, which is well beyond what our requests for services are. So that's been the primary activity here with the department, is just dealing with the fact that there's and with that a significant reduction in permit revenue, which was addressed during the budget process. So there were a number of vacancies, as you know, over the last few months in the planning department, and at this point, because of the state of the moratorium, there really are no plans to fill those in the near future, knowing that permit activity and permit revenue is going to be down significantly. But happy to answer any other questions about any other sites that you would like to, but if they haven't gotten a permit yet, they're not getting a permit now.
I have a question about a site.
Mhm.
We approved about over 3 years ago on this building down by the La Presenta, or what's that little mark, huh? As there was going to be a bar or nightclub there. It's still nothing under, they took all the signs off and everything.
The tap house.
We're told that the holdup on that was PG&E.
Yeah, but they took the,
I know what you're saying. They took the
license
alcohol
away, yeah.
permit, yeah.
But I can't believe the PG&E take that many years to.
Believe it.
Well, no, because a lot of them are doing it pretty fast now.
I mean, look how long it took them to do that one over there where Jamba Juice and that Chester Chicken, it took how long it took them to do that. They bought their own generators. because it was
Yeah,
taking
but then
so
they
long.
finally did it and it wasn't, maybe not 3 years, but
Okay.
I don't know. I was just curious about that building. It's all.
So I know an encroachment permit was pulled, so they can try to complete. My understanding from the owner is that PG&E is working on it. So now it's just a matter of getting the work done. And so once they connect, then we'll be able to find out the shell building because it's not ready to be used. But the tenant improvement permit was pulled for that brewery or, so once they have the connection, then the tenant improvements can begin for that business.
Do you know, do they have to reapply to get the license, alcoholic license?
The condition of approval, Brent, for the alcohol license, once they have it, it's there for the life until removed, right?
Alcohol licenses generally sit with the site, but you're not allowed to just hold a license on a vacant property, but we can certainly look into that. Where's
Like
what the
Bob
status
said,
is.
that was posted.
Mhm.
Okay.
As far as the use permit from the city concerned, yes, it runs with the land, but the ABC requirements as far as, holding on to it or whatever, we'll look into that for you.
Okay, so Bob's and I have a few I'd like to ask. Okay, the first one is, do we have any updates at all on the store at ECR and Oak where that guy came in with a lawyer and people were raising all kinds of heck about it?
The Buyer Building?
Yeah, the buyer building. Any updates on that?
They did submit a permit and it's still under review. We have not issued a permit for it yet.
I mean, it looks like they haven't progressed very much on that. I mean, it looks vacant.
You would
Okay.
think they would fix the
Uh,
windows.
How about the museum? Any updates on the museum?
I know it's a public works project and I believe that they were waiting on funds to try to complete because the permit that was issued and completed was to set it on foundation, which was done. But any other services, we probably have to reach out to Public Works.
Okay.
They're managing
How
that.
about the park at 12th and Apple? They received a grant for that. Are they progressing on that at all?
The community center project, yes. So the community center project, they're going through final design. We had a meeting today with the state grant people. Their environmental. So when the grant was submitted, we used all the environmental review from the previous projects. to clear it with the state. Since this involves federal funds, it requires NEPA, which is different than CEQA. There's some different forms that have to be filled out. There's tribal consultation that has to be completed. So we had a meeting today on that. It is moving forward, but as it's funded through federal funds, it takes time to get this money. But it is progressing. The plans have been progressing. And of course, it's one of the issues here is also the moratorium.
I was gonna say that.
So in the ordinance that the city council set, grant funded projects may move forward, but there's going to have to be provision for temporary facilities if the building gets completed before the moratorium is completed.
Okay, so I have one last one here. A few weeks back, I drove up to Modesto to see Paul Megan's son play, Michael. He was playing professional baseball with the Modesto Roadsters. Unfortunately, like I said, we drove up, made a special trip for that. They were doing their wind sprints and he pulled a muscle and he didn't play. And he didn't play. So then I got a hold of him just the other day and I told him that, last week, I told him that I was gonna drive up there again this past weekend to see him play. And then he said, unfortunately, he got cut from the team, so. But I told him, keep your dream alive. I said, your dad wants you to do that. That's it.
Thank you. So you mentioned California Gourmet Pizza. Do you have an ETA on when we will be having a pitcher of beer and a pepperoni?
I don't know if you've got any updates there.
They are progressing. Their permit is issued. We're just waiting to
Okay.
get the final inspections, but it's still going to be a little while. I can't exactly say how long, but they are progressing.
Okay.
PG&E has anything to do with it, it'd be a couple more years.
Okay, so if there's no other commission comments, we don't usually do this, but I'd like to close this meeting in honor of Salvador Zavala, a longtime Greenfield business owner and father of this guy. Meeting adjourned.